All right, guys, I'm here in the Dominican Republic. We're wrapping this up. We did a white night on the beach tonight. So we got about 350 people down there that we had a big old dinner on the beach. You'll see the pictures and stuff later, the videos later. If you couldn't make it, I just want to say this really quick, and then I'm gonna throw it at you, Ryan. If you couldn't make it this year to the 7K getaway, maybe you didn't hear about it in time, maybe you didn't have the money, maybe there was other circumstances that came up in your life. That's okay, totally okay. But I want you to do something for me tonight because I've heard so many times this week, oh my gosh, I wish I had more of my team here. I wish I had more of my team here because, in fact, we had a meeting here, and one of our founders, Roger Ball, he's 82. One of his mantras is that relationships rule the world. Ryan, you can probably, you probably feel the same way. Relationships rule the world. And when you come to a place like this with this many people, like-minded people who are on the same mission, all of a sudden you build these relationships that carry you long, long, long into the future. And I've seen it over and over and over again. And so tonight I want you to do something for me and just make a promise to yourself. If you're feeling like you missed this one, make a promise to yourself that you will not miss next year. Start doing whatever you have to do. Start saving the money. Make sure every month you're putting it aside. Block off the calendar for next January, February. Not sure when it's going to be yet. But I promise you, you will not regret making that commitment and then making the trip with us next year. So that said, Ryan, I know you got a lot of good stuff for us tonight. I know that there's been some awesome things that have happened this last week. And that said, I'm gonna throw it over to you, and then I'm actually gonna turn my camera off. I'm gonna mute. I'm gonna be in the background. It's really windy here and lots of stuff going on, but I'll be watching. I'll stay on, and then if you don't see me pop back on, just go ahead and wrap up the call, and then I'll end it. But I'll be watching the background, but I'm gonna be more of a distraction than not if I hang around. So.
All right. Well, Blake, thanks for kicking it off. You guys just keep having a blast down there. I know that's inspiring for everybody to watch, and we certainly want everyone to challenge themselves to be there. So that's what this is all about. I'm going to jump right into it, everyone, and roll with you. Hopefully everybody's hearing this good, everybody's seeing it good, and we're going to jump right into lesson 2 of this 7-part series. Now we're covering the 7 laws as broken down in the book Now You Know. And so I'm going to give you some feedback on it. Remember, let me give you some rules that we go by here. This is not intended for you to go through the entire training and then begin to work. That's why we're driving every week. That's why we've got a scorecard. That's why we're asking people to move the marbles, which basically means to invite, present, and follow through every week. And that's considered moving one marble from your full marble jar to get it over to the empty marble jar. And that's where the money's made. That's where the freedom is set in building teams, is we have to get the momentum in motion. And this whole course is about creating momentum. And I want you to be equipped with the know-how so that anytime you decide, and I'm hoping it's right now, that you decide to create momentum for your business, you're not puzzled trying to figure out what to do, how to do it, where to go. You might need to practice some. That's what we all have to do. But you want to begin to take action when you're ready to take action. And I'm certainly hoping that's now. So I'm going to hit share on the screen. We're going to jump right into it. Grab your pens and pads, because I'm going to give you some things that you can apply this week. This is going to be a fun week for you to learn some things together. Now, let me make sure we got this over in the chat room. Somebody give me a thumbs up. I just want to make sure that my screen is sharing properly. If it is, give me a thumbs up over here. And if it is, I'm going to go ahead and begin. So I got a bunch of thumbs up. So we're talking about the Team Builder Blueprint, lesson number 2. And what I need to do is X out of this. Let me stop sharing. Oh, there we go. I apologize, everybody. It looks like my keynote needs to get restarted here. And so I'm going to restart it. I'm going to hit share. You're watching me fix this in real time. And I will be ready to hit play as we speak. So here we go. Thank y'all for being patient with me. So lesson number 2 is what we're talking about tonight. And we're going to grab some pads. Here's this screenshot, this one more time. This is for you and your team. I'll talk with Blake about where we can post the scorecard link. There is a static link we can give you so that you can check on it, but you should be getting a text every single week, a couple of texts with the link for our weekly scorecard. And if you're not, we want to make sure, this is a new system. We want to make sure you're getting it. Now, what did we do this week? Let me kick off. We moved some marbles. That's what everybody's doing. You're going to see this in the numbers. I'm getting ready to present to you this past 7 days stats for our group. We want to fill out our scorecard every week. This is the accountability part of what we're doing. And then we want to help our team do the same. And so we want to keep working on this. And we don't want to wait till Wednesday night. If you have issues, reach out to us before then. Now, here's our scorecard. If you'll notice the numbers, 1287, 437, and 72, those were our numbers last week. We had 1,287 new invites, 437 presentations last week, the week before. This past 7 days, let me give you some new numbers. And here's what you need to know with the scorecard. Every week I update this. And so just like your team, there's ups and downs. A lot of leaders are traveling, so they're focused on what they're doing. They may not have even entered their score numbers, but this is what's happening with the group that's participating here weekly. From the sound of it, these numbers would have been much higher with more people putting them in. But we had 782 invites, so a little bit down from the previous week. We had 312 presentations. Now, that's a very good ratio. That's what happened. And we had 40 new members out of that. So that is a 13% immediate closing ratio. And here's part of why I do this exercise, because I want everyone to understand how numbers work. Because once the belief triggers in your mind that it's just the numbers that's going to set you free, then you can get focused on not only your own numbers, moving your own marbles, but it's really you're building a team of people that is doing the basic things over and over again. So it becomes your job, your mission, your goal to lead by example. At some point, that's how everybody creates momentum. There's no way around it. You can't just sit back and try to get people to do the work. You have to lead it. And this is where we're at over the last 2.5 weeks, because we had a half a week there where just the leaders participated. There's been over 2,600 invites, over 1,000 presentations, over 181 new members that have been logged. Now, there might be another 100 that haven't been logged out of this group. So if you don't log your numbers, I'm just showing you only numbers that I've received. We're at a 17.75 sign-up ratio. Now, our goal is the 80-20 rule. We can get wealthy with the 80-20 rule. We know that. But let me show you what happened this week. We had 201 participants. So we had a few less participants this past week from this particular group. So I want to encourage you to keep participating. And here's look at these numbers: 160 the first week, 253, then 201. So you kind of see it's going to, over 8 weeks, you'll see it kind of goes up and down. But I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to participate in this, because if you'll force yourself to do something consistent for 8 weeks, I know I had to force myself to do it. You kind of learn to get through those ups and downs differently. See, most people get excited about something new. Hey, the scorecard is something new. We're going to do this training with Ryan. It's going to be something new. Week 1, they're fired up. Week 2, they're fired up. Week 3, they're a little less fired up. But we got to keep pushing ourselves, and that's how we create momentum. Now, here's what else is interesting. And this is what I really want to hone in on. We've done 1,020 presentations in the last few weeks. We have already got 181 new members that we're launching and getting started. I've seen that in the chat. That means we still also have 839 people to follow up with. Look at how this number grows, ladies and gentlemen. Meaning there's 839 people out there that you could follow up with a 3-way call, or you could follow up to get their questions answered properly, or maybe it was bad timing for them. So it might be a couple of weeks to follow up with some new information, some exciting announcement that comes. Staying in touch with this group probably is going to yield another 20% or more. This group is likely to get a 30 or 40%, based on my experience, out of everybody you've shown the program to, based on the numbers we have immediately. Here's what that means. Half of this game, my friends, is just being here long enough to realize, because if you quit before all the follow-ups could have happened to get people to join your team, there's some top earners that could have, should have, would have been on your team that won't be if you stop building before the follow-up is the right time for them to say yes. Look at the pipeline. It's getting full. The bigger it gets and the more follow-ups we're doing. It's not time to get lazy here. It's time to turn up the heat. It's not time to put pressure on people. And I'm going to teach on some of that tonight. It's time, though, to keep moving and driving these numbers. So here's our totals. We're going to keep adding this up. We're going to see, and you'll see at the end of 7 weeks how this all plays out. There's going to be people that's watching this tonight that see their businesses take off because belief's going to set in. You're going to, if you keep doing the work, you can force momentum in your organization. Now, this week, we're giving away 3 $50 free merch certificates from the 7K Gear site. And I just want to read, I've got our top 10 or so: Faye, Tracy, Wayne, Clark, and that's Faye Ballheimer. I hope I'm saying it right. Tracy Schwinn, Wayne Clark, Tony Taylor, Amy Proudfoot, Stacy Jackson, Kenny Marino, Matthew Skeel. Some of them were tied for that. But these are in the top 10. Congratulations. You moved the most marbles. You did the most presentations out of several hundred people that logged. Now, there was a bunch of them that were right underneath you. I think some of you did 6, 7 presentations this week. Almost everybody did 6 or more on this screen. And a bunch did 5 and 4 and 3. And listen, if you do 2 presentations a week for a year, that's 104 presentations. I don't think any of you are bad enough not to end up with a couple of teams that are growing and moving this time a year from now. So you can see, you can compress it, create momentum. But let's go through our top 3 winners. Congrats to Kim Mulatto, Estella Phillips, and Tom Lundell. They're our top 3 winners. They get the $50 free merch certificate. So we'll touch base with corporate on that. They'll make sure you get that. But congratulations. Now, this next week, I'm going to ask you all to jump in and move a bunch of marbles. Make sure you log the scorecard. If you don't get the scorecard on Tuesday, I would be calling somebody, texting somebody I know that's in the group to say, hey, Tuesday by lunchtime. If you don't have it by Tuesday at lunch, make sure you get the link, or we'll make sure it's posted somewhere for you to get it in case you can't get text. Maybe your carrier is blocking them for some reason. I don't know. That happens in this world with emails and text. You never know. But this next week, thanks to Blake and Company, we're giving away the top 3 people are going to get VIP seating with a guest. So your business and a guest gets VIP seating at the next convention in New Orleans. So this is going to be a cool thing. This is going to be a special treatment, some special treatment for you in New Orleans. And let's just see who gets it. Let's see who logs the most presentations. Let's see who goes out and logs the most invitations. And we will keep driving these numbers till we get an explosion. Now, I have a survey that I took that I want to give you a little detail on. I asked a question inside this week's survey. How many of you are wanting to hit, the next rank by New Orleans? I mean, what's the next rank? And I just want to give you a little bit of detail just so you know what's going on. 5.5% of you are shooting for associate, 24% are shooting for bronze, 26% are shooting for copper, 20% are shooting for silver. Gold and higher, gold and higher is around 4.5% total. And there's about 20% of you that didn't list anything. So here's really the teaching point here. I wanted to get an idea of the kind of group we're at, where we're at. But here's what I want to tell you. And it's easy just to write something down. New Orleans is a great time frame because it's several months away for you to put set your goals, set your sights on something. And I want to tell you a couple rules here in networking and team building. Number one, you won't ever get what you can't see. So you got to see it, you got to visualize it, you got to go for it. You won't ever hit a goal that you don't have. And chances are, if it's not a solid goal, if you haven't broke it down to figure out, okay, if I'm going to go bronze, I need this many people on my team. So there needs to at least be this many presentations between me and my team. And if we're not going after moving if you move enough marbles, you're guaranteed to go bronze if that's what you're going for. If you move enough marbles, if you're already bronze and you want to go copper or you want to go silver or however we move through these ranks here, there's just a certain amount of marbles that need to be moved. And we have to shift our mindset to getting out there and making it happen, because this is going to create the momentum. I asked another question: do you have a game plan? And here, this is a remarkable scenario. And I'm not picking on anybody here. I'm here to do a little bit of teaching, training, coaching, some high level. I've worked with lots of leaders, helped lots of people create businesses in the industry. And now I'm excited about what we're doing here at 7K. But 44% said, no, I don't have a game plan yet. Now, I think you've probably been presented a game plan. You just haven't accepted it. You just haven't adopted it. And I appreciate you being truthful. Don't ever feel like you have to write an answer that isn't in your heart true. So those that, maybe some of you said, yes, I do, and you really don't. And this number may even be higher. But if you don't have a rock solid, okay, here's the goal I'm going for, and here's what I'm going to do to get that goal, you're probably not going to hit it. I wish there was another way to say that. I wish there was a nicer way to say it. Hopefully you see me smiling. I'm not being mean. But that's how it is. And so this is what want to help you do. Chances are somebody in your upline already knows how to help you do this, but maybe you just need to accept it. There's great training going on throughout the whole company. I've said this before. I'm not here to retrain you. I'm adding fuel to the fire and giving you a perspective on some things that'll help you go to the next level. And here's what we're talking about. The next 15 minutes, we're going to talk about the law of staying in control. Now, this is law number 2. Law number 1 was the law of the first impression. As we began to make calls, as we began to have conversations with people and start to invite them to hear about 7K, that's our first impression. We're kind of setting the tone. Now, what happens is we oftentimes lose control of the conversation, meaning we lose our posture, meaning the prospect starts dictating the next steps. The prospect starts telling us how they want to get the information, and we start just kind of, letting the tail wag the dog. I mean, you've heard that statement, I'm sure. And so the law of staying in control means you're in charge of how the prospect is going to see the information. Doesn't mean they're going to see it, because law number 3 will expose that. That's our next week law of the takeaway. But you will find that people will be attracted to you more if you're in control of the information than if you just randomly answer every question they have. And see, the number one way people lose control of setting an appointment, their presentation, getting more quality appointments set with high caliber people, which is what you want. You want influencers to join your team. It's easy to lose control with somebody that has influence, because somebody that has influence usually knows how to communicate pretty well. So if you're not real solid in what you're doing, you might feel like you're lost control. And the number one way that I learned through the years to help people overcome this is really to process how they're answering questions. Because when people are asked questions, let's say you introduced us, you open the door, you get some interest piqued, and then somebody hits you, a prospect hits you with the question, says, well, hey, can you give me a little bit more details about this? Hey, can you tell me a little bit about it? Or is this one of those? Or they start taking down a path that causes you to react instead of you causing them to react. So I want to give you a few tips on this. One, a statement that you'll hear me say all the time when I'm teaching people this type of information is conversation before presentation almost always ends in failure. The more lengthy of a conversation you have about 7K before you ever get to the 7K presentation tends to hurt your chances to ever get to a quality presentation to begin with. People that are having trouble getting quality presentations set often are having too much conversation before, so the prospect doesn't feel like they need any more information. You've given too much to them. They don't think they need to see the meeting. They don't think they need to go to a Zoom. They don't think, because you've already given them everything they think they need. So we've got to learn how to stay in control of the conversation so that they're curious, so they want more. We're not hiding anything from them. We just know in our heart we're doing them a disservice if they don't see the full presentation. So anything we answer any details we give could derail us booking a meeting. The next piece I want to give you is this: the answer to every question is always going to be the next step of the system. So if you're in the invitation portion of our system and people start asking questions and you're still inviting them, the answer to whatever question they ask, it doesn't matter what questions they ask. If they haven't seen the presentation yet, and that's the next step, you're going to learn how to reclaim the conversation and drive them to wanting to see the meeting instead of you answering the detailed question. That's really all this law is about. This is something I struggled with as a young man in his 20s. I constantly lost control of I talked to a lot of good people that I could never get a meeting set with. And I had to learn how to deal with this so that I'm not saying I got every meeting set, but I just started getting enough of them set that it led to financial freedom. Let me give you 5 rules tonight that are going to help you establish credibility and stay in control. So take what I just said. Now let me give you some rules. Quick rules, simple rules that help you stay in control. One is rule number 1, learn to ask questions in conversation. This is before the 7K thing. This is before we transition to start talking about presentation, because all of this stuff is going to help your presentations happen better, stronger, more frequently. And when your prospect shows up to the presentation, when they show up, they're going to be thinking about what they're going to see differently. So you want to learn to ask questions. This is why the forum, family, occupation, recreation, message, that concept of learning to have a conversation with somebody is important, because really what you're doing, the art of this, we can do a whole training on this right here. The art of this is finding out somebody's why before you ever get them to see the presentation, so that you can engage in conversations about 7K being the solution to whatever their why. It doesn't matter what their why is, everybody. Hey, I'd love to be able to send my kids to a private school, or I'd love to take more vacations, or man, I just don't have any, my asset, my net worth's not what it needs to be. I don't have any residual type income. Whatever their why is, we're going to find it out in conversation. And too many people try to wait till after the presentation to find the why, when it should be found out in the beginning. Here's another key that I learned to establish credibility: staying in control. Like when I'm calling somebody to introduce them or to set an appointment, or if I bumped into them at the mall, sometimes it's awkward with people. So what I learned to do to stay in control is be urgent. If I was calling, whoever, if I was calling Blake, I'd say, Blake, listen, buddy, we've already had a conversation. I said, listen, I got something important I want to talk to you about. I don't have a lot of time right now. I got about 5 or 10 minutes. So here's what I'd like to do. And then I just move forward with whatever appointment setting process I want to move forward with. But that's an example of how I would set the tone. Like, I don't have a lot of time to talk right now, but here's what I want to do. Write that down. I don't have a lot of time to talk right now, but here's what I want to do. Here's why. You'll get less questions if they know you don't have any, because if they say, hey, can you tell me more about it? Say, hey, listen, just like I said at the beginning, I don't have a lot of time right now. Let's get on the phone tonight at 8. Maybe we'll jump on a Zoom and I'll take you through the information. Or how about I send you a video? Let's set a time when you think you could watch it, and then I'll call you right after to get your questions answered. Or remember, the answer to every question is the next step of the system. And so you can stay in control if you establish, if you tell people, if people think you got all day, then you know what? They're going to try to call you back, or they're going to try to ask too many questions. We want to know how that works. I want to help you learn to give people permission to say no early on. So as I go through some of this next piece, you want to give them permission to say no so that it relaxes them in the conversation early. It might go something like, hey, Blake, listen, this may or may not be for you, but I know you know some people. We need to connect. Let's grab a cup of coffee. I don't have a lot of time to go into the details now, but let's grab a cup of coffee. Oh, coffee won't work? Hey, you know how to use Zoom, right? Let's jump on a Zoom. I got something I want to show you and get your opinion on it. That's how I would navigate through that. But I've kind of taken the edge off by by letting them know up front it's okay to say no, but there may be a reason. And here's my next point. Give them a reason to say yes. So I just gave you some dialogue. I'm going to teach you a little bit more on this, but a lot of times, the best people that are booking the most appointments are doing these two things. They might not even know they're doing them. Hey, John, listen, this may or may not be for you, but if we could block 10 minutes, I want to show you something. You probably know a handful of people that you could help with this. So I just gave them, I told him it was okay to say no, and I gave him a cool reason to give me 10 minutes to say yes. That's an example of how you would make, and you want to get natural with this, but we're establishing credibility, staying in control. And when we use these simple things, everybody, practice it. This week when you're moving marbles, try these things. You'll get good at them. It doesn't take very long. You do this with 4 or 5 people, you probably got your own version of it down. It needs to feel comfortable for you. And here's the deal. Never put somebody on the defensive. One of the biggest ways to lose control is if you know somebody's in another company, or you want to talk bad about their situation, trying to make your situation more appealing. Hey, listen, I know you're with so-and-so, but you need to take a look at what we're doing. It's way better than what you're doing. So many people create defensive mechanisms with their prospects that just aren't needed. Matter of fact, if somebody's in another company, it'd be best not even address that issue. Just move forward, because you don't know what's going on in their mind. Let them tell you if they don't want to move forward, instead of you creating a reason for them to not move forward. Kevin, thank you so much. Hopefully you guys got some info out of this. Now, I'm going to zip through this. This is 5 more minutes of info, and we're wrapped up tonight. I'm going to give you some words that work. You've heard me say some of them, but I want you to screenshot this, because this is literal gold for you in your 7K business. Now, every single word I pop on the screen, this is kind of dialogue. These are words that you learn to use in the appointment setting process that really help you stay in control, but it creates a feeling with your prospect that you're somebody they want to be in business with. It took me years to work on this with people. I learned, so I didn't invent this, but I've pulled it together for you and built some pretty big organizations using this type of verbiage. So write this down, and here's what I'll tell you. Everything I say, you could add the words, hey, the next step would be. Remember, because the answer to every question, or really what you're trying to do, is always get to the next step of the system. Hey, I don't have a lot of time right now. So I just taught you that a minute ago, but I want you to make sure you know this. When you call somebody, you bump into them in the mall, say, hey, great to see you. Hey, listen, look at your watch. I don't have a lot of time right now, but I really want to catch up with you on something I'm excited about. When would you have 10 minutes we could jump on the phone? Now, you've just established you don't have time to go into a lengthy conversation, so it helps you stay in control up front about, basically, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, and if they start asking a lot of questions, you could look at your watch and say, hey, listen, that's a great question. Let me give you a call later tonight. We'll go through the info. Or, hey, what I want to do is get you to watch this video that I've seen, but I got to cut loose right now. And it helps you stay in control. Opinion. Hey, Blake, this is Ryan. And let's say Blake and I know each other. I might say something like, Blake, listen, I don't have a lot of time right now, but I've ran across something I really want to get your opinion on. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. Or can you jump on the phone with me tonight? There could be a lot of money involved, but I want to get your opinion on it. See, when you ask people for their opinion, it sets them at ease. And it's honestly kind of an honorable thing for you to do, to ask for an opinion. And isn't that all we really want? If his opinion is it's not for him, then, hey, check him off the list. We move the marble. Let's move on. It's a word that creates a calm reaction from people and an honorable reaction. May or may not. And I learned that word opinion when I was in my 20s, because I was prospecting everybody in my 30s and 40s and 50s. And the truth is, I didn't think a 20-something-year-old guy would be able to have the credibility with someone older. So I just started asking everybody for their opinion. And they gave it to me. They'd meet with me, and I ended up, once I started making money, that kind of helped me launch my business. Hey, John, hey, Blake, this may or may not be for you. So I already established that. I just want you to have it in writing here. These are words that work. Hey, this may or may not be for you, but I'd love to get your opinion on something. Don't have a lot of time right now, but how about 10 at 8 o'clock tonight, we jump on the phone. You're really this is really cool. So you're laying these words, you're using them in a lot of different scenarios. Hey, Blake, listen. Now, this is somebody maybe you know that has tried networking before. They've tried to build teams. You can say, listen, this may or may not be for you, but I promise you this. You've never seen anything like it. What I'd like to do, the next step really is I want to get your opinion on about a 10-minute video, and we'll just go from there. It may or may not even be for you, but let's roll. So you kind of see how I'm giving you some dialogue here. It's 90% visual, and I just got about 1 or 2 more minutes and we're done. If they ask questions like, hey, can you tell me about it? I might come back and say, listen, you've probably never seen anything like this, but I'll tell you this, it's complicated to explain over the phone. It's about 90% visual. The next step would be for me to get you a video, but I want to make sure we're able to connect the right way, the right time. Can I give you a call at 8 o'clock tonight? Hey, I don't have a lot of time right now. So you see, these are how these words are work in dialogue to help, because here's what we're after, ladies and gentlemen, setting quality appointments. We're not just slinging videos out there. We're not just sending links to people to watch, trying to talk them in, beg them in, plead them in. We're trying to have strong dialogue with them so they know we're serious. And they may say no. Remember the 80-20 rule. If you end up with 20%, if 80% say no, you can get wealthy here building teams. I can't promise you anything. I can't promise you anything. So if you know why they're doing their business, if they said to you, hey man, I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years, you could come right back, say, John, listen, I can't promise you anything. I don't have a lot of time right now, but I got to get your opinion on something. I think that could help you take a vacation. Can we touch base at 8 o'clock tonight? I guarantee you've got their attention. I guarantee it. If you learn how to use these words, you're going to get most people's attention. Last 2 here, obviously. If they start asking a lot of questions, you can just put a stop on it right now. Hey, Blake, listen, obviously you got a lot of questions. I don't have a ton of time, but these are great questions. I really just want to get your opinion on something. Can we jump? This thing's 90% visual anyway. Why don't we jump on a Zoom, or how about I send you a video? We'll go through it, write down your questions, and we'll get them answered. But this thing will answer most of them anyway. So obviously, obviously, if you say obviously, we need to, then they're thinking in their mind, well, obviously, and they stop asking questions. So you want to regain control. The last one here is this I'm working with. Hey, I'm working with a company out of Idaho Falls that's doing something I've never seen before. What I've got is 90% visual. It may or may not be for you, but what I'd love to do is get your opinion on something. Can we grab 10 minutes tonight? See, I just used a handful of these little phrases that kind of leave the prospect to where the only thing they do is say yes. Yeah, hey, let's get together. Or I'm too busy today. Let's get together tomorrow or whatever. My point is, these are words that work. I want to help you strengthen your business, strengthen your appointment setting. We want to move some marbles. So here's the last thing. What are we going to do this week? We're going to move some marbles. We're going to fill out our scorecard. Everybody that didn't get to do it this week, let's make sure we get it done this next week. We're going to try to hit that scorecard link at you a bunch of different ways. If you missed it, if you worked hard this week and you want to add your numbers, we'll give you a catch-up week. Add them into this next week's scorecard. If you did, don't add them twice if you did it this week. But if you didn't get to do it because you didn't get a link, add them in, because we want to get our numbers jump back up there to where we know exactly where they are. But fill out your scorecard and then go help your team do the same. Now, don't just go help your team this week. Move your own marbles, fill out your own scorecard, and help your team do the same. Hey, I'm excited to be with you. We're having a blast, Blake. We're at 9:02 Eastern right now, buddy. I know you're with a group, man. I see people wearing white. They look pumped up. They look sharp. 7K leaders in the background. Hey, let me turn it over to you. Thanks for having us on.
Love it. Good stuff, Ryan. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for jumping on. You guys send them away tonight. Tell them how much love. Love it. Good night, everybody. We love you. Thanks, Ryan.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have a great one.